Hello everyone and welcome to Dundas dashboard how-to videos. This video will show you how you can create performance dashboard out of your OLAP cube data by creating your KPIs and datasets directly from the virtual cube that you create from OLAP data source. The advantage of doing this is that you can utilize the data visualization controls that are available only in the performance dashboards toolbox and cannot be used within the analytical dashboard. Another advantage is that you will be able to combine both relational data as well as OLAP data into one dashboard and view the metrics based on both the types of data sources. So the first step in creating a performance dashboard from the OLAP data is to make sure that the virtual cube is created and set up. So in this example, I have my virtual cube set up. As you can see in the definitions tab, I've got 3 measures that I've selected. Out of these 3 measures, one is a calculated measure that I've defined on the cube. I've also got 5 dimensions selected. In the calculations tab, I've got a calculated measure that I've selected in the measures in the definition. It's called total sales amount, and I also have a date mapping set up on date.calendar dimension. This is useful if you want to use a calendar control to filter the data on your dashboard. You can still filter the data using a hierarchy control, but if you want to filter using a calendar control, then you have to make sure that you have defined the date mapping on the virtual cube. If you need help in either setting up the virtual cube or defining calculations or date mapping, then do check our support website on the related topics as well as the how-to videos. So once I have the virtual cube set up, the next step is to define the KPIs and the data sets. So first, I'll define the data set from this virtual cube. In the dataset setup, select the virtual cube. In this step, select the measure fields that you want to display. Notice that we selected 3 measures from the cube tree in the virtual cube, and only those 3 measures are displayed for selection. So let's select all 3 of them. Click on Next. In this section, select the dimension fields that you want to associate with the measures. So let's select 3 dimensions. Click on Finish. So once you do that, if you go into the Columns tab, you can see that the measures that we selected have appeared as the metrics, and the dimensions selected have appeared under the dimension columns. In the Ordering and Sorting tab, this is the column order that the columns will appear. You can add a sorting rule if you want. And once you're all set up, click on Preview. And once you do that, you can see that the data has been queried from the virtual cube and appears in the preview grid. So once you're set, click on Save and check in. One thing you can also notice is that the dataset query filters have been defined based on the dimensions that you have selected in the cube. These filters are ready to be used to create parameters on the dashboard. So once we have our dataset set up, we'll also create a KPI out of the virtual cube data. So to do that, click on New KPI on the menu of the KPI folder. Once you give it a name, it opens the KPI setup. In the first step, select the virtual cube, click on Next. Here, select the measures. So let's select all and set one of them as the default measure. Select the dimensions in this step. So for this example, let's select just one dimension and click on Finish. And once you do that, in the Measures and Metrics tab, you see that the measures that have been selected appear as the measure values along with the default measure that was selected. And in the Dimensions tab, the dimension country that was selected appears as the dimension. You can check the column order here and define a sorting rule and sort the data according to your requirements. And in the Preview tab, you can preview the data. As in the dataset, you can see that the query filter has been defined on the country dimension. You can use this to define a parameter on the dashboard. Once you're set with the KPI, click on Save and Check In. So now we have both our dataset and the KPI ready. The next step is to create a dashboard. To do this, in the Dashboards folder, click on its menu and select New Dashboard. Give this a name. Once you do that, it opens the dashboard editor, and in the toolbox you can see that the KPI and the dataset appears for the dashboard designing. So to use them on the dashboard, just select and drag them on the canvas. And let's preview this. So as you can see that the data is being queried in the data visualization controls from the OLAP data source in this performance dashboard. The default control for a KPI is a bar chart, and the default control for a dataset is a data grid. In addition to these controls, you can use any of the data controls that appear in the toolbox, including all the charts and the gauges, along with all the other data visualization controls. You can also define parameters for the controls. These parameters would be based on the KPI and the dataset query filters that were defined in their respective setups. You can change any of the properties related to each of the controls, as well as script any of your interactions and interact with your data according to your requirements. If you need to integrate an analytical dashboard with the performance dashboard, then all you have to do is use the dash block viewer and point this viewer to the analytical dashboard. It will then display the analytical dashboard within the performance dashboard. So for more information on the steps that we just discussed, including the steps on how to integrate analytical dashboard within a performance dashboard, please visit the support article shown on your screen. If you have any questions or are looking for additional information, feel free to visit our support site at support.dundas.com or contact Dundas support using the contact information shown on your screen. Thank you for watching.